There's nothing sexy here for humans save efficient muscles, quickened panting, fire ants. I can't read it, it's too small. Page-turning shrieks at the work of fire ants. That's
Of course my mother did. As if working in a club doesn't sound bad enough, what more a stripper? In fact, she was furious when she found out. I was lucky she didn't disown me. Morality over mortality, Ming, she told me as she tore up the check that I gave her to pay off her treatments. You should know better. I will never forget the look of disappointment on her face, and I knew she was very angry that night, but little energy was left in her to chase me around the house with the bulu ayam like she used to. And then again, maybe getting hit with the bulu ayam would have hurt less than having to hear Ma say that she'd rather die than continue her treatments. But what to do? The cancer in Ma's lungs had reached the final stage, and the only option she had was to undergo a surgery where her chances of survival was thinner than a single layer of kueh lapis.
Crave for light. Only after a wrong do we understand what is right. So, what is the freedom that you desire? To obtain it, would you run through fire? Don't wait for it to be robbed from you. It'll be too late to understand its true value.
So, this time I'm reading from my fantasy short story from the anthology A Spoonful of Malaysian Magic, which was published end of last year. This is one of the few anthologies that's focused on Malaysian fantasy, defined as fantasy written by Malaysians, so not necessarily Malaysian fantasy. But my story is Malaysian, right? My story in this book is called Kampa and the Kings of Kedah. It's historical fantasy based on the Raja Bersiong story from the Kedah Annals. So those of you who are familiar with the story, you might be interested to see the elements and recognize the elements from the original story. Right? The last time I came,
by the 1960s, it was close to being destroyed. And that was what inspired me to write this story. Okay? How can you stand the loud cackles of these fat albino crows? Yin Tao asked in Cantonese as he looked contemptuously at the gaggle of British women chattering loudly under the Petalik Street tailor shop awning. His cousin said, "You don't have to speak that way. They don't understand Cantonese. It's fine." And I had good reason to welcome these colonists' peppered wives to my shop.
Being able to experience the creator's creation firsthand, it's such a privilege. So this I'm reading from a novel that I'm almost done with, and I'm reading a chapter that's called Die Indrani Die. She awoke in bed, her covers thrown onto the ground. The faithful call of the muezzin snaked into her dreams and brought her back to consciousness. The light was beginning to stream through the sky.
Sewer coitus and see, Sumitra, see, I chose the words. I told you. So let me read. Oh, also this story, by the way, just one more plug for Joshua. This story is where I met Joshua Lim, who was here a few readers ago. He has 2 short stories in here. Fun fact. That's how impressive he is as a writer. Right, I'm plugging you, Joshua, before you go off to Liverpool. So yeah. So this short story I'm reading is called "He Came from the Sea."